knitting $600 socks? Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, welcome to Karchermakes. I'm Andrea, a serial crafter coming to you from South Central PA. And this is just a little place where we like to talk about all things crafty, usually knitting, sometimes crochet, occasionally spinning and weaving. But today, we're gonna talk about these $600 socks. But first, I do have a couple finished objects to share. The first one being the emotional support chicken. Y'all, you all chick-influenced me. I have been influenced. And when I saw this, one of my friends from work raises chickens, and I was like, I have to make this for her. This is perfect. So I'll insert some footage here. It's already at her new home with her new chicken friends, but I chose to make it out of fingering weight yarn using US 2 needles. I thought about going up to like a size 3, but I was afraid that the gauge would be too open and the stuffing would come out. So I went down to a size 2, and it does make a significantly smaller chicken. I know Amy of Happy Little Yarn made hers out of bulky weight, and it's a big chicken. It's just a little chicken. And I just made it out of leftovers. It's a really great scrappy project. It took... I didn't weigh it, but it took very small amounts of fingering weight yarn to even the main body part didn't use that much yarn, and I apologize for not weighing it first, but great little project. The pattern is by the Knitting Tree LA, and they also have accompanying video tutorials, which is really good because I was a little intimidated at first by the fact that it used wrap and turn short rows. I'm not great with short rows generally speaking. And then normally when I do short rows, they're not wrap and turn. So I got to learn that. I got to improve my technique a little bit more. And I just love how this chicken turned out. It is adorable. It is cute. Its recipient was so happy and surprised by it. So it's a win-win for everybody. So the second finished object that I have are these socks. So these are I call them my Niagara Falls socks because rainbow. And if you're familiar with the Niagara Falls region, one of the bridges between the US and Canada is called the Rainbow Bridge. So, I mean, this was the perfect color for that. We went over the fall and I stopped into the Creative Knitter, which is about 20-ish minutes outside of the actual area where the falls are. And of course, I had to get yarn, and like the rainbow yarn was perfect. This yarn is Flotti Sock Patagonia. And the colorway is just a number. It's 1650, but the feel is kind of similar to like an opal or a regia. It's 75-25 wool nylon, but these are so pretty. Rainbow is my favorite color, and I love how these turned out. They do not match perfectly. They're about 2 stripes off from one another. And I don't care because I love them and they're gorgeous, and I'm going to wear them this weekend. So they're ready to go. All finished. Okay. Let's talk about these $600 socks. So for the Super Bowl halftime show, Usher performed. I'm sure everybody is already aware of this, and this is old news at this point. It was like a month ago, right? But he had some folks join him. Ludacris joined him, Jermaine Dupri. It was a great halftime show. I personally loved it. My Gen X heart was very happy with the halftime show. So the next day, fast forward to the next day, one of the accounts I follow on Instagram is called The Shade Room, and they're like a celebrity news / gossip site, and I just really enjoy following them. So they had posted this of Jermaine Dupri wearing these Louis Vuitton socks that have a pocket on them. And you guys, as a sock knitter, like, I was so intrigued by this, and I had to make them. I now need these socks in my life. I need these socks in my life. However, who's buying $600 socks? Like, I don't know. Jermaine Dupri apparently is buying $600 socks. So, and by the way, they're not even wool. Like, they're 100% cotton, which, Jermaine, call me and we'll talk about good socks. And cotton socks probably aren't it. So I posted in my Instagram stories about this, and I was like, okay, I know a knitter is going to be coming out with a pattern now for pocket socks. Like, this has to happen. Somebody's going to do it. Who's going to be the first? And to my surprise, my DMs blew up. Like, so many people were reaching out to me saying, hey, they already exist, and there's numerous options, and you should go look. Like, it never occurred to me to look first. Like, of course, somebody's already thought of this, right? So the most popular one that people were telling me about, and by the way, I'm also Karchermakes on Instagram if you want to follow me there. But the most popular one that kept hitting my inbox was the pocket socks by Summerlee Knits. And I know they also just came out with a book as well of various sock patterns. I don't have it. I don't know what patterns are in it. But the pocket socks pattern was a standalone pattern on Ravelry. So of course I bought it, right? Like, of course I did. So when looking at Jermaine's Louis Vuitton socks, which by the way, they're $565, but by the time you add sales tax, they're $600. Let's just round up. Looking at those, I really wanted to take this pattern by Summerlee and adapt it so that I could get something inspired by these $600 socks. And if you're not familiar with Louis Vuitton, they have a heritage pattern called damier, and it's like a checkerboard pattern, effectively. And you can really see it in their listing of these ridiculous socks, right? You can kind of see how it looks like knits and pearls and a checkerboard. So, of course, I was like, I can do that. I can add knits and pearls and make a checkerboard look in a sock. I don't need somebody to feed me a pattern for it. But what I didn't know is how to make this pocket, how to do the buttonhole, how to attach it to the sock. That was the part that I wasn't really sure about. So, Summerlee Knits pocket socks pattern helped with that. And you guys, I am just so happy with how this turned out. I am just so happy with how this turned out. So, number one, I only have one of these done. The other one is in progress. I'm about halfway down the leg. But look at this little pocket on these socks. And I'll try to do like a side-by-side comparison of Jermaine's $600 sock against my not $600 sock. So, like I mentioned, I did a series of knits and pearls to make that similar checkerboard looking pattern. This yarn is Fangirl Fibers. It came in the 2023 Advent. I got the version that came with a full skein, and the color is called Andy's Room. I know Jermaine socks are white. I didn't want plain white socks because I love color, and I knew that because of this texture, I would need a solid, semi-solid type of yarn to really make that be visible. So this color was perfect for it. So I did 64 stitches. The knit purl kind of cadence is 4 knits, 4 purls all the way around, repeated. I did a 1x1 rib at the top, and in hindsight, I probably should have did a 2x2 rib because I don't know how that's gonna hold up to the weight of the pocket. But in any case, it's already done. And then I used Summer Lee's pattern to build the pocket and I did a little rib across the top. Now, I know the Louis Vuitton ones had like a flap pocket that folds over and then the button comes through it. I couldn't be bothered with that. So I just did the little stockinette pocket here with the ribbing. And then I did modify slightly the buttonhole. Summer Lee's pattern has a great explanation of how to get the buttonhole. I did it slightly different over 2 stitches instead, just because I wasn't sure if this button was gonna actually fit through if it was just one. And these are just buttons that, so when my mom passed away, she collected everything, by the way, P.S., everything. So she had jars of buttons. So I just went through the jar and found this little like kind of pearlescent one, and it kind of looks similar to the Louis Vuitton one, but y'all, just so incredibly happy with this sock. The other one's in progress, like I mentioned, but I think it's a nice take, right? It's a nice take on the inspiration photo, and I think it's a really good example of how, you know, even though there's not a pattern for exactly what you have in mind, exactly what you want, find a pattern that's close and then, you know, kind of adapt it to what you need it to be. And I just can't stop smiling because I love them. I really love them. And like I mentioned, they didn't cost $600. Now, they weren't cheap, but they didn't cost $600. So there is that. And this is kind of a half finished object, right? Because I still need to make the second one. I don't know if I'm gonna put a pocket on the second sock. Who needs one pocket on a sock, much less 2? But I just think 1 pocket is enough, maybe. And, you know, we'll just go with that. 1 pocket on a sock. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So this was more of like a little fun video for me to make, a little silly, talking about like the craziness of $600 socks. And look, if y'all want to go buy a sock that costs that much money, who am I to stop you? But just to kind of take something that's kind of frivolous and make it your own. It was a fun project. I really enjoyed making them, and hopefully I'll get that second sock done soon so I can actually wear them. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. If you have a project that you've made more your own by changing some of the pieces and variables of the pattern, leave it below. I'd love to hear about it. And if you enjoyed this, if you like this, give it a thumbs up. If you don't mind subscribing, that would be great. And until next time, happy making.